This is Pete Feenstra on Friday the 14th of October, talking to Gary Boner, producer, songwriter, guitarist, band leader of Roadhouse for www.getreadytorock.com. Gary, this is the band's 20th anniversary, congratulations. Unbelievable, you're one of the few bands out there, independently run bands, on your own label, who've got distribution all around the world. You've enjoyed radio play here, there and everywhere. And you've got a brand new album out called Dark Angel, and on this very special 20th anniversary you're putting out a collector's item DVD. What can the fans expect of that?
We are, Pete. It's the band's live performance at this year's Skegness Festival.
Which I think was the 8th time you played there or something?
Eighth time in a row.
Yeah.
On centre stage. Probably a couple of thousand plus people there in the room. It's shot from the gallery, so it's a downward view.
Yeah.
It's actually shot by Butlins themselves, not by the band.
Yeah.
So it is a limited edition because it's not multi-camera, it's not edited, but there's a lot of zooms and the sound's great. And people who've seen it, they really like it.
And the important thing is it marks the 20th anniversary, and it's also, I guess, a live rendition of much of the material from Dark Angel.
It is, it's the Dark Angel tour. It's a great version of the song Dark Angel on there. Yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff on there.
And we should talk about that immediately. Dark Angel, it's your 11th album.
Yeah.
Like many of your albums, and the thing that actually separates you from many of your peers is the fact that you are a song-based band. Plenty of guitaring going on, great singing, but you are a song-based band, and you're a very prodigious songwriter. Where did all that come about? That you've got all this dark noir kind of lyrics, and which are very, very different from most people's.
I don't know. I mean, I got picked up once in a taxi in Holland, and the taxi driver recognised me from seeing me playing a festival out there. I had a couple of albums, and he said, "Oh, you're Gary from that UK band Roadhouse." He said, "Your life just must be hell. You must be the most miserable bugger on the planet. You know, those miserable songs. I would never like to be you." And I said, "They're just songs, honestly. They're just well, maybe,
they're like narratives.
Well, maybe they're not. You know, this part. I've not been well, Pete. I've had a few health problems, but you just soldier through, and I think you learn. You know, especially
you put it through your lyrics.
You get over 21 like me. you soldier on, and yeah, it's own. You know, life's short.
But there's a lot of particular influences, and that's the reason I asked the question. There's a lot of kind of New Orleans imagery and voodoo kind of stuff. I'm sure you've been asked this question before, but it does make the songs are very, very powerful musically, but lyrically they really are out there on their own. I mean, it's
there's, for example, most of the songs are written in the States.
Oh, okay.
So
that's your inspiration.
I've done a lot of playing in the States with US bands.
Yeah.
Not taking a band on tour there. I'm not rich enough to do that.
No, I understand.
We've had the airplay out there, but we've never had the financial backing or the management.
Yeah.
But we've had massive airplay across the States. And yeah, I mean, like the song Voodoo Queen was written in New Orleans, which is what it's about.
Yeah.
And I've been to those great big graveyards in New Orleans, the so-called cities of the dead. And the ground in New Orleans is so swampy that if you bury somebody conventionally, the ground actually coughs up the corpse.
Oh, goodness.
And so they put them all in these big marble filing cabinets, and it's the spookiest thing you've ever seen. Giant carvings, and it's like the city of the dead. So Gothic stuff is it's interesting. You know, the rock side, I love it. Gothic
the two come together well. I mean, quite often when you have been on the radio, a lot of people thought it was an American band for that very reason.
Yeah, a lot of people do think we're an American band, which I take as a compliment.
And on that very point, I mean, I was going to ask you this anyway, but when I first saw the band, which was nearly 20 years ago, when I first saw you, you were kind of more rooted in Americana, whereas now it's more kind of southern rock blues. It's imperceptibly moved. I mean, the band's changed, of course. You've had different personnel.
Yeah.
Any reason for that? Just through playing, it's to stretch the songs out, or?
Well, I think originally, like my partner in the band was a guy called Bob Roberts, who was a harp player who had country roots.
And a good songwriter.
He's a good songwriter. We wrote some great songs together. He went on his own, shall we say, journey about 5 or 6 years in, and left, and I had to pick up the whole songwriting thing, front in the band. So it was almost
So the whole thing,
by accident.
So the whole thing about being a band leader kind of fell in your lap rather than.
Yeah, I was managing it, driving it anyway, but then the fronting it I took on as well, and I like to think, and all of it rather than just half of it. So I like to think that over the remaining 15, 14 years, I've got better at it.
And was there a difference in approach? Because presumably when you're collaborating with songs, somebody does one bit of it and the other person does the other. In this case, you're doing the whole lot, and then you present it to the band, presumably to.
Yeah, I mean,
knock into shape.
I've you know, we're up in our, you know, where we're actually filming this is up in my little kind of office studio, which is at the top of my house, built in a loft. And I fire things off of Danny Gwillam, our guitar player, first. And Danny works his magic. Who
used to be in Shogun, of course.
He did indeed used to be in Shogun. He was offered the gig with Meatloaf, but for many reasons he couldn't pick that up. He's a great player, so we put it. And if it works with him and it convinces him, and he contributes to that process. Danny's a great kind of contributor,
an arranger,
and so you know we build it here. And then we take it to the band in a live rehearsal situation. If it doesn't work with the band, we forget it. But we've probably only had one song like that in probably the last 10 years. And
it's arrangements I want to talk about because, of course, there's two things here. One, you're an intergenerational band, of course. Some of the band members are a lot older than some of the other members. So is it a case of dragging people towards your sort of music? I mean, some of the women singers in the band are in their 20s, and you're considerably older than that.
Just Pete, you're hurting me. You're hurting me.
But thinking about the music, I mean, you presumably drag them towards rock, blues, and southern rock and stuff like that they wouldn't otherwise have heard.
Well, we've other than Mandy G, who's sung with a band for about 17 years, on and off. She's had her periods where she's been off. But other than Mandy, who's been a great voice for Roadhouse and people associated with the band, we've probably had about 14, 15 different girl singers, a lot of them very young. And we're currently...
You've always assimilated them.
Yeah, but there's loads of these girls, they come out of vocal tech training, the vocal tech schools in London. And we kind of talk to those schools and we give these girls big stage experience, and they love to sing that blues. They come out wanting to sing the blues, singing rock blues. And generally they love to do 1, 2, 3 years with us, get on the road, go to Europe, play some big festivals.
And that's where it works, festivals. This is where you've really done well, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really a festival band. Look at your history, you played all, I think you've done 8 Skegness's, 7 Colnes International Rock Blues Festival, Antwerp Blues Festival.
Yeah, to 10,000 people. You know, and Glastonbury 2010.
Which I was going to come to. That's another kind of exclamation point in your career, of course. And that went well?
Yeah, it went well. It was quite an experience. We ended up freezing in the tent at 3 in the morning with no way of getting off site. Just in the girls had very little on. And
well, thank you for that. Then.
It was uncomfortable for all concerned.
But I mean, here we are, 11 CDs down the line, 20 years of keeping the band going. I mean, does it feel like the same project now as when you first started?
It doesn't really. It's changed so much. We're much rockier, which I think is where my heart is.
Right.
I grew up hanging out down the marquee, watching bands through that kind of almost progressive rock period. I'm much happier with what we're doing now. I can listen to Dark Angel and honestly say that's a really good album, and it's the first time I can listen to my backtracking work without once or twice going, what was I thinking of? And there's some great stuff in our back catalogue, but it's the best album, and it's getting a lot of press. Reviews coming out in Classic Rock in a few weeks. All the high street magazines are just picking up on it now, which is great.
Which is one of the reasons we're doing this interview, of course. And of course, you did have a couple of other great albums. Sea of Souls was a good one, and No Place to Hide, I think, was voted album of the year by the British Blues Press, which was great. Even though it wasn't actually a blues album, it was a crossover album, of course, which is why you got a lot of radio.
I don't think the rock press has discovered us that much. I think that some heavy metal magazines want to actually review Dark Angel this year. It's great with that crossover. Where'd you go? It's hard when you're that crossover. Do you know what I mean? And having enjoyed quite a lot of success in Europe, is it a little bit despondent when you come back to this country, and other than
festivals it's difficult. It's difficult for everybody, of course. But you know, is it a case of having to go back to play blues to keep people happy? And
yeah, well, the band needs to play, and live music. You know, I think, you know, the age demographic, the kind of X factor, you know, wave of cultural grey out, which is really depressing for live music. It just means that not enough people are coming out and supporting live music. So, you know, if the band don't play, you know, people just wait to see us play the major festivals. You know, the band will die if people wait. We need people to come out and see the band now. We need their support. You know, like the gig we got coming up to launch the new DVD coming up at the Boom Boom.
Yeah, that's on the 23rd of October.
23rd of October. We need people to come out to that. Yeah.
And a place you played before, of course. But the thing that's always impressed me is every time you turn up there, you've got a new album with your own material, and not many bands are capable of doing that. You're very, very prodigious. Where do you find the time to write all this stuff?
I don't know, Pete. I'm aging rapidly, and and it's like it's. But funny enough, I for a long time after Dark Angel, I never heard any music in my head, or I didn't feel like doing it. And then in the last kind of 6 weeks, actually 2 months. I've got 3 new songs that have come up. A couple in the States. I was out the States about 6 weeks ago. A couple in the States, 1 here. So it's 3 new songs coming. So, you know, we could be on the way to doing another. I hope so. I hope we keep going.
Great. And the other thing I was going to ask you about is the actual the producing of the album, production, engineering. You always tend to use the same studio, the same people.
Yeah. Well, I'm very comfortable with RMS Studios in Thornton Heath. But I have to give a lot of credit here to Roger Hunt, our drummer, who's you know, been a studio tech. He gives us a lot of help, and I think Danny, you know, he's always been there, Roger, and he's you know, he's done a lot for our sound. He's done a good job. Danny lends an ear as well. So between the 3 of us,
that's a good dynamic,
and Andy Levine at RMS, you know, we've done it. I mean, this one sounds like you've spent. I think it sounds like you've done at least 20-30 grand on this album, and it's my debt's a fraction of that.
Yeah, no, that's a full credit to you. That's well. And just for the benefit of everybody who may not have seen the band lately, what's the current lineup?
Well, the current lineup is it's most of the lineup that did Dark Angel, which is Roger Hunt on the drums, Bill Obley on the bass, Lifers in the band, and then we've got the amazing Danny Gwilym on the lead guitar, who really I just think is, you know,
superb guitar.
I mean, we've had Drew Barron in the band, Jules Fothergill, great players, but he's amazing. Myself, and then Mandy G's still there, and we've got a new girl who's just a couple of gigs in with us, called a lovely lady called Rhea Hallwood, and it's going to be really interesting. She did well at Merton Abbey Mills Festival when we headlined that, and be interesting to see how the Sutton crowd take to her.
Oh, I'm sure they'll love it. So, anyway, Gary, it's been great talking to you. I hope I know the album's doing well for you, which is great. I can't think of too many independently run bands that are as consistent as you are. And it's been an absolute pleasure. It's a pleasure to promote you, pleasure talking to you. I hope everybody out there looks out for the album, and in fact the DVD, which I guess the DVD you're going to have to get at gigs, I guess. Yeah, you're going to have to get it at gigs, I guess.
You get it at gigs, but it's a limited edition. We're only going to do the 100. Right. We'll putting just one out via the label and distribution when we've shot one properly. Hopefully we'll get the funds. Okay, this has been Pete Feenstra talking to Gary Bone on behalf of GetReadyToRock.com. Big thank you to Eric Harvey on the camera. Good afternoon. Thanks, Gary. Thanks for your help, Pete. Appreciate it, mate.